circumstances.
Thank you. I call the member for Maroochydore.
Thank you, Mr Acting Speaker. Queensland Labor have offered $200 million to help bail out Virgin Airlines, but have shut the door on small business loans. This is hurtful to so many mum and dad businesses who had indicated they wanted to access the Queensland Government's COVID loans package, but it closed without warning. Queensland already had one of the poorest relief packages for small business in the nation. And now we have the hypocrisy of this government that wants to bail out a multinationally backed company such as Virgin Airlines, but not provide help to our small businesses when they need it in this way. I wish to also acknowledge my colleague, the member for Burdekin and Shadow Minister for North Queensland, Dale Last, who also adds his voice to this issue if he could be here, but for the difficulty of the travel at this time. Thousands of small businesses throughout North Queensland have been left in limbo as a consequence of the Queensland Government's only support package for small business closing early due to insufficient funding, he said. And he's out there fighting the fight for our North Queensland and our regional businesses in this regard. But it is hypocrisy when we've got a situation where New South Wales are able to provide grants of $10,000 to small business, $10,000, but this state government has no such grant program for small businesses here in Queensland. They've left the state of origin fight and dropped the ball to New South Wales and many other states who are doing far better in regard to this urgent and emergency relief funding packages. There is also a need for fee relief, such as registration fee relief for many businesses, and that is something that I've also called on the Transport Minister and the government to step up with. So many businesses out there that need this help. But I want to mention the airlines and, in particular, regional airports. And I know that there are many regional airports that are also hurting, that the state government still hasn't announced what they're going to do. And these are businesses, but they support a lot of small businesses. And they're critical not only to today and the business impacts, but to the rebuild and survival for our regional economies throughout Queensland. I know this is true, the Sunshine Coast Airport, where they've lost about 92% of their income. And this would be reflected through many other airports throughout Queensland. And what is happening is that these airports still need to maintain compliant airstrips for emergencies, for general aviation. We need them today, let alone with the rebuild after the COVID impacts are lessened. So it's time that this state government realised that they have a need to support all businesses, but particularly our small businesses in Queensland, with real relief. They use so many of these mum and dad investors and small businesses as cash cows when the economy was going better. But before COVID hit, Queensland already had some of the worst, in fact the worst confidence ratings of small business in Australia. The retail sector was already struggling before COVID-19 hit. So many sectors were already doing it tough, yet this state Labor government had gouged more than $3 billion in additional taxes out of the pockets of Queenslanders, and that was a contributing factor. See, businesses in Queensland already had lead in their saddlebags, not gold, and yet this government treated them like they're cash cows. So now, at a time when all the help we should see going to help these businesses, our regional economies rebuild so that people can continue to have the dignity of work and the opportunity of building a future through their local businesses and their local communities, this state Labor government had left this state in one of the worst situations they could, with about $90 billion worth of debt, a very poor structure in respect to supporting small businesses, and they've been so slow in regard to responding to the needs of people who are desperate for their action. And we're going to see once again legislation come before the House shortly, but they still haven't addressed the issue of commercial leases. Where are they? How useless is this state Labor government when it comes to standing up and doing something other than a press release and a media conference with a government that doesn't want to turn up to Parliament? They're scared of scrutiny. They're scared of asking the tough questions. We must go into fight fight for the future and fight for all these jobs and these small businesses so that Queenslanders have a chance of recovery.
Members' time's expired. I call the member for Algester.